just give you a wrap-up on the context. Yemen is entering its 4th year of conflict with a complex and unique situation and international and national situation. And what happened, we're going to talk about facts just now. The Secretary General Special Envoy Martin Griffiths said in the news a few weeks ago, told the Security Council that he planned to invite parties to the conflict in Geneva on the 6th of September 2018, a few weeks ago, for consultation on a potential framework for talks, confidence building, measures and plans for moving the peace process forward. What happened on the 6th of September 2018 in Geneva is that the Yemen legitimate, officially recognized government was there, but the rebels, Houthi, were not there and did not take part to this peace talk, so it was deleted and it is, we hope, delayed. Meanwhile, Yemeni people on the ground are suffering. They are the first victims, whatever parties they are. It is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, with an estimation of 22 million people relying only on humanitarian assistance to survive, escalating violence in strategic ports, and a massive violation of human rights of the people from Yemen. And I will just tell you what is happening at the Human Rights Council right now, is that there was a report on Yemen, the second report on Yemen, including violation and abuses since 2014, it is said, done by a group of independent, eminent international and regional experts of Yemen. It is the second report. It was released on 17th of August 2018, and it was presented today at the Human Rights Council. This second report has polarized the situation in a kind of a crisis on facts and information. And why? Because up to today, up to this report, on 17th of August, all the reports have denunciated a massive violation of human rights from the Houthis and the rebels and those who have reversed the government and assaulted the legitimate government. I just want to quote this for those who want to look at facts. The 26th of January 2018, the Security Council has, with the letter dated 26th of January, from the panel of experts, the latest panel of experts, who has released a report of 329 pages, has just reaffirmed all the resolutions and violation and condemnation of the attacks. And I invite you to read that. And when you look at the other report, it is 16 pages, and it is now making the news with annexes. So I think there is a lot of work to be done, and that's what we are doing here as a first step. After listening to the report of Yemen, we have eminent experts, NGO activists, and we have 3 people from the Yemen International Peace Team who are going to witness facts and information regarding human rights violation. That's what they want to give you as the other side of the story. And we have, to begin and to end, 2 eminent persons who are activists from Yemen and who have facts and information from the ground and experiences. So I will start with no delay by Mr. Khaldoun Bakheel. He's a peace activist from Yemen, from the Hadramaut province in Yemen, Bachelor of Business Administration, currently resident in Cairo. He was very close to the former Undersecretary in Yemen government. He's an advisor to a number of international organizations in governance, dialogue, peace building, policy, and security. And we're very lucky to have him here. Thank you, Khaldoun. I give you the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Astrid. Thank you for the honorable audience coming and hearing about the Yemeni case and showing their concern about our tragedy and catastrophe situation. Thank you also for my colleagues in the panel. I'll be today representing and talking about the failure of the political life in Yemen and the failure of political parties in the benefit of militias and other extreme groups. Day by day, the war in Yemen is digging its devastating impact on the Yemeni lives. After the Yemenis were living with no presence of territorial, sectarian, ethnic groups and tendencies in their dictionary, the political conflict in Yemen caused a rupture and deep rift in Yemeni society. In addition, divided society into sects and groups that do not accept each other. Therefore, the division of events has reached with the same family. Now, with this catastrophic war, all the belligerents have been torn apart in a social fabric in order to attract more fighters in their sides by maximizing the tone of hatred, regional and rebirth of small and family identities. It can be said that the catastrophe in Yemen's social fabric needs tens of years to recover from it. But if it remains in the same case, it might be impossible to restore souls and their consequences because of the abhorrent division among belligerent and conflicting forces. That has served to stoke the differences, deepen the hatred, and accumulated the desire of oppression. The era of plurality, the growing phenomenon of violence, killing, and unlawful arrest, and the expansion of terrorism and extremism have extended. The manifestation of urbanization, political and partisan life have shrunk. Hence, it is a normal reflection of the collapse of the state that have led to the war of all agents, especially in the light of the survival of civil society institutions and organizations, by the forefront of which is the political parties, which are far from containing those divisions. The survival of war persists, and the conflicting parties have mobilized their supporters politically, culturally, and communally. The interest of merchants of war and crisis have grown. The external nutrient-folded factor of the war is emergent as a result of tensions in the region. In light of all this, the conflict in Yemen does not seem to end soon through a permanent settlement negotiated through the same United Nations framework. As that resulting from the Gulf Initiative, the National Dialogue, previous United Nations resolutions, or the political framework promoted by the envoy of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Martin Griffiths. That is no doubt of his good intentions, but in his understanding of the roots and dimensions of the crisis and the weight of the real actors in the scene, which seems to be the result of arrangements among only radical forces, in disregard of the forces of the majority and traditional and emerging political movements, North and South. To settle only the parties to Islamic extremism will be able to reach Yemen. The war, which is approaching its fourth year, has led to unresolved hostilities among the various Yemeni factions in the constant of the priceless and even the quiet death of the various Yemeni parties. In exchange for the flourishing and growing role of extremists and terrorist movements and militia, such as the Houthi movement, Qaeda, ISIS, Muslim Brotherhood. While the warring factions are reluctant to lay down their arms, the Yemeni people are facing a major economic and humanitarian collapse. However, a more rigorous international approach to a substantive and genuine political solution in Yemen is well founded through a deeper and balanced understanding of the realities of the traditional and emerging forces in the North and South Yemen. Also, the map of conflict and its parties could help to prevent a greater tragedy in Yemen, yet the region and the world today, there is a moral and strategic interest in establishing stability and peace in Yemen. Only a number of steps can be taken. The most important step is the rearrangement of the map of conflict and the political alliances. Today, the political situation in Yemen, in the absence of political action and multi-party pluralism, is extremely serious and serves the forces of terrorism and non-government state actors. Thus, the absence of a peaceful and civil national political opposition also in the current political map guide the conjunction and division. It is important for Yemenis and the long-standing non-war parties to work together to oppose and to combat the state of war. fighting to mobilize Yemeni society and its peaceful energies towards the adoption of a political disorders and action to achieve peace and restore the role of regular institutions, which is in the interest of the vast majority of Yemenis who find themselves in the midst of this war and its parties, but whose voices and energies have been distributed by the regional and sectarian division and escalating sectarian behaviors. Moreover, the deliberated exclusion of the various authorities, either the internationally recognized government or the Houthi movement in Sana'a, or regional and international parties who deliberately and unintentionally indulged in a monopoly of the Yemeni situation between only extremist rival forces, isolating parties, civil society, youth, women, and other community actors. Consequently, all of this not only served to fuel the war, but served to widen the circle of corruption and terrorism as a result of the lack of political, community, and parliamentary oversight of those authorities and government institutions, which encouraged the belligerent to continue displace any presence of opposing forces for fear of exposing them and impeding their interest and influence. The fact is that no political settlement or success will be achieved in any negotiations, and that the democratic system of any country cannot be reconciled without the existence of legitimate and legal political parties and opposition recognized by the state and the world. Political opposition usually arises from the existence of internal contradictions that exist in all countries. Therefore, it is necessary for balancing the forces and political movement and for social progress in general. The political parties does not only spot the actions of the executive and pursue its policy and observes it in order to correct its course, but it is also necessary as a mechanism for establishing peace and ensuring communication between citizens and the institutions, political power, the regional and international community to express their visions and aspirations. They are immunized against the serious polarization to join the parties of war, fighting, or terrorism. Thus, the war and fighting are the reasons of the absence of such significant and influential Yemeni political parties from their national roles and their positive contribution to the creation of peaceful transformation. At this delicate moment, they missed their course of Yemeni conflict, turning to be a part of the war or ally of any of its parties, or of its own reasons and context interpreted by the warring parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Khaldoun, for this review of the situation. We will now go to a case that is pretty dramatic and has gone viral on the internet, and because of the film of the torture of a man. This man is called Gamal al-Mamri. He has been tortured, and he is a victim of the Yemeni victim of this war. So this is going to happen by Skype. There will be a translation.
Yes. Where can I go?
Sorry, the microphone. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you. Yes, come. Please.
Hello. Does it function, the microphone? Okay. إذا تحاول أخي الكريم تحكي الفصحى وجملة بجملة أترجم لك حتى يفهم الجميع ما تقوله. بارك الله فيك. تفضل.
يطيب لي أن أشكر السيدات الكرام بمجلس حقوق الإنسان الموجودين.
I'd like to thank people who are now meeting in the context of the Human Rights Council.
وأشكر كل المشاركين من هيئات ومنظمات دولية معنية بالإنسان.
And And I thank all people who are the voice. All people who are present here in this conference.
أشكر كل من رتبوا لي هذا اللقاء مع أن فأود أن أكون حاضرا لديكم.
I would have liked to be with you there, and I thank you for meeting for this subject.
إلا أني لم أحصل على تأشيرة للوصول إلى مجلسكم الموقر.
But I couldn't get a visa to come to the council myself.
أنا المختطف جمال محسن أحمد المعمري.
My name is Jamal Al Ma'mari.
مختطف 1114 يوم في سجون الميليشيات الحوثية.
I have been kidnapped and I'm in the jails of the Houthi group since more than 1,000 days.
لحظة الاعتقال كانت وأنا فندق.
They have detained me while I was in a hotel
بجوار زوجتي نائما بأحد فنادق العاصمة صنعاء.
with my wife in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen.
وبالتحديد خط المطار فندق أرماني صنعاء.
And precisely in particular, it's the hotel which is in the airport of Sana'a.
كانت زوجتي تعاني المرض والإرهاق الشديد.
My wife was suffering from sickness and from fatigue
لأننا كنا مسافرين من الريف إلى صنعاء.
because we were coming to Sana'a,
والساعة كانت 12 بعد منتصف الليل يوم الجمعة.
where it was midnight on Friday. You see, what midnight, it was too late.
13/3/2015.
That was on the 13th of March 2015.
شعرت بحركة عند الباب.
I felt something moving around the door,
وعند فتحي لباب الغرفة إذا بمسلح الحوثي بجوار الباب.
and when I opened the door, they were breaking into the room where I was sleeping with my wife.
وقد صوبوا أسلحتهم على رأسي وأنا لست مسلحا.
They had their guns against my head, whereas I had no arms at all.
وقاموا بتكتيفي وربطي للخلف وتغطية عيناي.
Also, they kept me, they put my hands behind my back, and they also dissimulated my eyes. They have covered my eyes. I asked them, ترجيت ماذا?
ترجيتهم لأن زوجتي مريضة مصابة بالسرطان.
I told them that my wife is attained by a cancer and whether they can be nice to me.
وهي لا تقرأ ولا تكتب ولا تحمل تلفون.
And she does not read, she does not write, she's an alphabet.
وليس لديها حتى بطاقة شخصية.
Even my wife hadn't a personal identity.
ولم يكن لديها مال.
She has no money.
وليس لنا أقارب في صنعاء.
And we don't have any relatives in Sana'a itself, in the capital.
ناشدتهم بكل قيم السماء.
And I called the Houthi group, the people who were armed, to be merciful to me in all means of mercy of the heaven.
وبكل قيم الإنسانية.
And I called them to respect the human values.
إلا أنهم رفضوا وقاموا بسحلي وضربي على مؤخرة الرأس في أحد البيوت.
But they hit me on my head and they took me to one of the houses in Sana'a.
نقلوني من الفندق إلى بيت نائب الرئيس حاليا.
They moved me from the hotel to the house of the vice president actually,
والذي هو تحت سلطتهم.
which is under their control.
وقاموا بضربي على رأسي وظهري بأعقاب البنادق والعصية الغليظة.
They were hitting me on my head and on my back with the back of the guns, of their guns.
ضربوني بالأسلاك الكهربائية حتى سقطت على الأرض مغميا علي.
They have also electrified my body and I was unconscious in few seconds.
لم أفق من غيبوبتي إلا الصباح.
It's only in the morning that I opened my eyes
وأنا جوار ثلاجة الموتى.
whereas I was beside the refrigerator of the house where I was.
وعندما تأكدوا أني ما زلت حيا أعادوني إلى مكان الاختطاف.
And when they were aware that I'm alive, they brought me back to the place where I was kidnapped.
قاموا بربطي على كرسي حديدي، ربطوا أرجلي وأيدي إلى الخلف.
They have tied my legs and my arms towards the back.
ربطوني حتى تركوني مثل الكرة حرزونيا.
They tied me with ropes. I was tied from all sides.
قاموا بصب الماء الثلج على رأسي.
And they were pouring cold water or ice and cold water on my head.
مزقوا ملابسي وانهالوا علي بالضرب بالعصي والأسلاك.
And they have turned my clothes and they started to hit me with all means, with all the wires they have.
كنت أصاب بغيبوبة متكررة نتيجة الضرب على مؤخرة رأسي.
So repeatedly, I was also unconscious, and whenever I open my eyes, they repeat the same story.
وكان كل همي مع التعذيب هو زوجتي وأطفالي.
In spite of all these sufferings, my first concern was my wife and my children.
كانوا يقولون لي هل تريد زوجتك؟
They asked me many times, do you want to have your wife?
فيسمعونني صوت امرأة تستغيث بجواري.
And they were, I heard cries, people who were looking, who were crying and calling me beside me.
كنت مقهورا كثيرا من تلك الأصوات.
I was very much disturbed by these voices.
كان الدم يسيل على كل جسمي.
And everything, I was blood over my body.
8 أيام لم يسمحوا لي فيها بالنوم.
They didn't allow me to sleep during 8 days and nights.
ومنعوني من استخدام الحمام نهائيا.
They have prohibited me of using the bathroom or the toilets in general.
لم يكونوا يعطوني الأكل إلا مرة واحدة.
And they were giving me food only once a day.
قاموا بإحراقي على الكرسي الحديدي، أحرقوا قدمي الأيسر بالكامل.
They have burned my feet, and in particular the left one on steel which they have with them.
هذه آثار الحريق.
And you can see the traces of this burning, you see.
قاموا بثقبي بدري الكهربائي على يدي اليسرى، ترونه الآن أمامكم.
And they also started to electrify my hand on the left hand, you see. You can see that also the traces on my arm.
قاموا بحقني بإبر تحت الجلد للتعذيب.
They injected me also with many injections under the skin. You can see that also the traces are evident.
طبعا أيضا قاموا بسحلي كثيرا على البلاط.
البلاط
يعني أرضية.
الأرضية. Okay. They have also thrown me on the floor.
طبعا عندما كنت أستغيث كانوا يقومون بضربي على فمي حتى كسروا أطرافي في الفك الأيمن.
When I was calling for relief, they were hitting me on my mouth to the extent that they were breaking one side of my cheeks, you see.
ضربوني كثيرا.
They hit me many times.
طلبوا مني الظهور إعلاميا في قناتهم لأتكلم على يعني كذبا على بعض المسؤولين.
They have also asked me to testify wrongly, a fake testification against my leaders on their own television.
كان بجواري
مين كان بجواري؟
كان بجواري أطفال ونساء.
There were children and women beside me, by my side.
كانوا يعذبون.
They have been tortured.
ثم نقلوني إلى سجن الأمن القومي بصرف.
Then they moved me to the, I think, Institution of National Security.
أدخلوني زنزانة انفرادية ليس فيها ضوء ولا ماء ولا كهرباء.
I was put in a cell without electricity, without water, without anything.
كانت
It was full of insects.
قتلوا أناس كثيرين أمام عيني في هذا السجن.
They have killed many people in front of my eyes in this jail.
عذبوا الأمريكي جون.
They have tortured June, the American. Yes.
قتلوه تحت التعذيب أمام عيني.
And he has been killed under torture. And I was eyewitnessing all that.
كان هنالك أشخاص من أوروبا أيضا من عدة دول أوروبية قاموا بتعذيبهم.
There were many Europeans coming from the different European countries who have been tortured.
عندما زارني الدكتور عبد القادر الجنيد عندما دخل سجنه يعني.
And when Dr. Al-Junaid visited me, they also detained him.
قام بفحصي ففاجأني أني مشلول.
And when he examined my body, he found out that I was paralyzed.
كنت على الحفاضات.
على إيه؟
حفاضة.
يعني
he was
أتبول لا إراديا.
Yeah, he was having like the children layers, you see, because the pampers, like children. Yeah, he had his pampers.
قاموا بضرب البعض حتى ماتوا وكانوا يطلقون على رؤوسهم النار.
They were killing many people around me, and they were pouring, it's like fiery water on their heads.
هذه ملابس بعض من ماتوا تحت التعذيب. هذه ملابس مسعود البكيلي.
You see, these are clothes belonging to people who have been tortured.
وهذه ملابس حسين الحسوي.
And also these are the clothes of Hussein.
هؤلاء كانوا معي قتلوهم.
They were with me and they killed them.
في جعبتي الكثير من الملفات الذين قضوا تحت التعذيب أمام عيني.
And I have myself many stories about the different people who were killed under my own eyes, you see.
حبسوا صحفيين كثيرين.
They have detained very important journalists in Yemen.
الصحفي يحيى الجبيحي حكموه بالإعدام وهو محبوس معي.
Mr. Yahya Al-Dubayhi was sentenced to death while he's in Paris.
مجموعة حارث حمي.
And the group of
حارث حميد.
Harith May. Harith Humaid, yeah.
هذا الصحفي الجبيحي الذي حكموه بالإعدام معه اثنين من أبنائه مسجونين معي.
This journalist was sentenced to death. He had two sons which were with me in my jail.
أخرجوه من السجن وأبقوا ولد حمزة تحت الإقامة الجبرية.
They took them from the jail and they were forced to stay at their residence.
ابتزوا أهلي بما يعادل $50,000.
They blackmailed my family with almost $50,000.
نهبوا كل ممتلكاتي.
They have sacked all properties I have, cars and other things.
وأجبروني على توقيع استلام يوم إخراجي.
And they have obliged me to sign the day when I was released from the jail.
تركوني 3 سنوات تحت التعذيب ورفضوا يخرجوني إلا بمقاتل بديل عني بمقاتل حوثي.
3 دقائق تنتهي أستاذ جمال.
They just released me after 3 years of torture and jail, and they didn't accept to release me unless that has been exchanged against a Houthi rebellion. Sorry.
المنظمات الإغاثية كانوا يأكلون كل شيء يأتي إلينا ويبيعونه.
Everything we have received, which was delivered by relief organizations, was taken by them.
استخدمون دروع بشرية فيها معسكر صرف.
They have used us as human shields.
وقتلوا يومها 13 بإطلاق الرصاص عليهم.
And 13 were executed at one single day.
ضربوا على البقية، ضربوا كثيرين بمطارق من الحديد على الكلية وعلى الرأس
they have hit many people with their metal rods till they died.
أشكركم على استضافتي لديكم لبعض الوقت.
I thank you very much for having listened to me during this time.
وأقول لكم أني في هذا اليوم أعلنت أني أنشأت منظمة اسمها منظمة إرادة.
And I would like to declare as from here that I have founded an organization which is called Irada. Irada, that means the will.
إرادة لمناهضة التعذيب والإخفاء القسري.
To combat the disappearance and the forced torture.
أرجوكم الوقوف معي وإيصال صوتي إلى كل العالم لأبين للناس ما الذي حصل.
I would like to ask you to kindly ask you to have a firm position with me and to announce everything you have heard to the rest of the world. شكرا. ينتهي. مع السلامة.
Thank you to Gamal Al Mamri. Maybe you did not see, but he is actually in a wheelchair and he's paralyzed. So I don't know, I should have seen maybe before, but it's actually a trauma that is staying not only mentally, but also physically. So now we are going to another witness of the situation. He's a journalist. He is a human rights activist and lawyer. He is a chairman of the Yemen International Peace Team, and you have a few of the brochures of the report of this International Peace Team on the table when you go out. He was subjected to multiple violence and crimes by the Houthi militia and oppressed and condemned for his political activism. We have witnessed during all those panels many activists and even social media activists. Yesterday there was Hashim, who have been arrested because of freedom of speech is one of the indicators that something is wrong in a country, and journalists are very important when they witness. So is he ready? Mr. Mohammed Al Maswari.
Mr. Mohammed Maswari. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'd like to talk today about the torture and the disappearance, compulsory disappearance of many in Yemen. In general, the Yemen people are suffering from moral, also torture all the time, since the Houthi has taken control of the areas in which they are. There is no security, and the people are frightened day and night. The first thing that this group, the Houthi group, has dominated the areas, they started to build or to make prisons. That was the first step. Yeah. There's some of these are known as detention centers, and some are secret because they belong to their security forces. And you can, in this detention, we witness the worst torture ever had passed to see in the humankind wars. For instance, one of these cells, people are detained inside a cell which is very, very narrow, and then he's deprived from going to the bathroom or to the toilets, and he's offered only a single meal the whole day.
أما بالنسبة للغرف الجماعية فيتم حشر الناس فيها بشكل كبير جدا وتكتظ بالمعتقلين ولا يوجد مكان يتسع لأن ينام الشخص فيه.
In the collective ones, there is a compact crowd, you see, of prisoners. People cannot move and they don't find a proper place to sleep.
ويمنع أيضا من الدواء أو وصول الطبيب إليهم.
People are deprived from medicaments or the access to the medical intention.
وطبعا هناك غرف خاصة للتحقيق يتم فيها تعذيب المعتقل بأنواع متعددة لم يسبق لأحد أن يرتكبها.
Also, there are rooms for investigation, and during these investigations, detainees are tortured by means of which you didn't hear in the history.
هناك التعذيب بالكهرباء وبالسلخ وبالمادة الكبريتية وبمواد أسيدية يعني وتؤدي إلى انسلاخ الجلد بالكامل.
There are tortures with even phosphoric or other materials which burn the skin and leave its traces on the person.
وهناك حالات كثيرة منها الدكتور منير المشرقي الذي تم سلخ جسمه وأصبح اليوم فاقدا للوعي.
Also, there is the case of Dr. Munir Mashrifi, in which they tried to get out, to take out the skin, his skin, and he's still unconscious and he's suffering from all these sorts of torture.
أو بالأصح هو فاقد للذاكرة جراء التعذيب الذي تعرض له.
He has an atrophy in his memory because of this, the sufferings he had during this torture.
بالإضافة إلى الشيخ جمال المعمري الذي تعرض لتعذيب وحشي وأصبح اليوم معاق ومشلول ولا يستطيع الحركة وهو يتلقى العلاج الآن في المملكة العربية السعودية.
In addition to Mr. Ma'mari, I think, whom we have seen before, and he's paralyzed and he cannot move, you see.
ومؤخرا تم اعتقال الناشط والإعلامي محمد صويع وتم تعذيبه تعذيبا وحشيا حتى فارق الحياة.
Recently, Mr. Muhammad Swea was detained. He was a journalist, I think, and well known, and he was tortured till he died under the torture.
للأسف الشديد أن لجنة الخبراء الذين زاروا اليمن لم يقوموا بزيارة تلك السجون المتعددة ولم يطلعوا على أوضاع المعتقلين ولم يطالبوا حتى بالإفراج عنهم.
Alas, all the members of the experts panel who visited Yemen, they didn't ask to be taken to these jails, and they didn't ask also to release them from the Houthi movement.
وللعلم بأنه بعد أحداث ديسمبر 2017 تمادت ميليشيا الحوثي بشكل كبير جدا في ارتكاب الجرائم على نطاق واسع.
In spite of the fact that the Houthi movement, after the events of December 2017, they have expanded their activities and they are perpetrating crimes everywhere and on a large scale.
ومصيرهم مجهول حتى اليوم.
مصيرهم مجهول حتى الآن.
شو؟
مصيرهم.
And even nobody knows his destiny, you see, in this chaos.
ومنهم من تم تصفيتهم تصفية جسدية سواء في المعتقلات أو حتى في المستشفيات.
Some of them have been liquidated physically, even in their homes or at the hospitals.
أما بالنسبة للاختفاء القسري فلدينا شخصيات كثيرة تم اختفائها قسريا من قبل الميليشيا الحوثية.
As far as the forced disappearance, there are many cases here.
منهم وزير الدفاع محمود الصبيحي.
Among them, the Minister of Defense, Mr. Mahmoud Khubaisi.
الصبيحي.
الصبيحي.
Sobaihi, sorry, yeah.
Yes. وناصر منصور هادي
And the
ناصر منصور.
Nasser Mansour, the vice president. Yeah, the vice president.
ومحمد قحطان.
And Mohammed Qahtan.
وبعد أحداث ديسمبر تم اعتقال أولاد الرئيس علي عبد الله صالح وأقربائه.
And after the events of December 2017, the sons and the relatives of Ali Abdullah Saleh, the ex-president, have been detained and they are still kept under their domination.
لدينا الكثير من الصحفيين والإعلاميين معتقلين اليوم ويتعرضون لأبشع أنواع التعذيب.
We have many journalists and activists who are detained and they are suffering from the torture which is exerted on them all the time.
وهناك آلاف مؤلفة لا نعلم أين مصيرهم حتى اليوم.
On top of that, there are thousands and thousands who nobody knows what happened to them.
كنا بالأمس نطالبكم في مجلس حقوق الإنسان بأن تشكلوا لجنة تحقيق دولية.
We were asking you to found an investigation committee in the past,
لكننا أصبنا بخيبة أمل.
but we were completely disappointed
لأن تقرير الخبراء كان تقريرا منحازا للحوثيين بشكل كبير.
because the report of the panel of experts was not impartial and it took the side of the Houthi.
ولذلك أمام ما سبق ذكره
لما سبق ذكره.
On the basis of what has been mentioned till now. Yes?
تفضل.
تفضل. تفضل.
نؤكد بأننا نطالب بدعم للتحقيق الوطني العادل.
We kindly ask that there should be an investigation which supports the national investigation in Yemen.
ونطالب بإدراج ميليشيا الحوثي ضمن قائمة الجماعات الإرهابية.
And we call upon all the international community to enlist the Houthi group as one of the terrorist groups.
ونؤكد بضرورة اتخاذ كافة الإجراءات اللازمة للإفراج عن المعتقلين.
And we would like to ask also to take all necessary measures against this group.
وشكرا لكم.
Thank you very much. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا لك أستاذ.
تفضل.
Thank you, Mr. Al Maswari. We are now going to one of the members of the Yemen International Team for Peace, who is here with us, Awad Alwan. He is member, I said that, trainer in the fields of human rights and international humanitarian law, democracy, and good governance. He's also consultant to many youth organizations and initiatives with which he collaborates a lot, and he's going to tell you more about all this.
Thank you, Dr. Astrid. السلام أو مرحبا بكم جميعا.
Hello.
وأرحب أيضا أو أشكر النادي السويسري للصحافة على هذه الاستضافة.
I thank the Swiss Club, Press Club, for having organized this event.
لا يخفيكم سرا أن الوضع الإنساني في اليمن يمضي في طريق الانهيار والتردي في ظل صمت دولي رهيب.
You are not without knowing that what happens in Yemen, the situation of human rights in Yemen, is deteriorating and it affects the whole country.
جراء الانتهاكات المستمرة لحقوق الإنسان من قبل ميليشيات الحوثي.
Regarding all violations perpetrated by the Houthi in Yemen.
سأركز في مداخلتي هذه على انتهاكات حق التعليم في اليمن من قبل الميليشيات.
I will be concentrating on the violations of Houthi against the right to education.
فكما نعلم أن التعليم يعتبر هو اللبنة الأساسية لبناء وتطور المجتمعات.
As you might know, I mean, the education is one of the bases for constructing a very good society.
ولطالما يحلم اليمنيون ببناء دولة مدنية حديثة تلبي تطلعاتهم وأحلامهم في المستقبل.
The Yemenis are always dreaming of having a real state based on education in order to realize their aspirations.
مدينة أو دولة تحتضن جميع البشر دون استثناء. نحن لا نقول اليمن لليمنيين وإنما اليمن لكل إنسان. دولة تنتهج أو تنشر ثقافة المحبة والتسامح والسلام بين أوساط المجتمع.
That means a state which will establish peace, and it will be for everybody, not only for the Yemeni, for the various components of the society, and which will come everybody.
ولكننا للأسف اليوم تهدم هذه القيم من خلال المؤسسات التعليمية التي تسيطر عليها ميليشيات الحوثي.
Alas, all these establishments of education are in reality have been demolished by the presence of the Houthi groups.
لتحل بدالها ثقافة الكره والبغضاء بين أبناء المجتمع المدني أو اليمني.
Because the culture which is propagated by this group is of hatred among the different components of the society.
فقد عمدت ميليشيات الحوثي على تغيير أو تحريف المناهج التعليمية في المدارس.
They have changed, I mean the Houthi group has changed all curricula in the schools.
على أساس عقائدي وطائفي.
On the basis of communitarian and religious beliefs.
وتقوم بإقالة المدرسين والأكاديميين أيضا في الجامعات واستبدالهم بآخرين منتمين لجماعتهم أو من المقربين لهم ولفكرهم.
They are laying off many of the teachers and the academicians at the universities to replace them by people who are loyal to their principles.
لا أعتقد أن هنالك أحد يتصور مقدار الفاجعة بأنه ينشأ فلذة كبده على ثقافة مليئة بالكراهية والحقد للآخر، ثقافة لا تستوعب أي نوع من التسامح والتصالح والمحبة والإخاء.
Nobody could imagine that we have our children and they have to grow up with this education of hatred. They don't have any tolerance and they don't have any of these values.
هذه المدارس أصبحت أعزائي ملجأ أو معسكر كبير لاستيعاب الطلاب والرفض بهم إلى للجبهات القتال كما تقول ميليشيات الحوثي.
Even the schools are becoming as centers to enlist and to mobilize the people, the students to the front to send them to the front of war.
حيث تقوم الميليشيات باختطافهم بعد تعبئتهم بأفكار متطرفة والزق بهم في الجبهات الأمامية للقتال.
The militia, after educating these people with their own values, they take them to the front.
ويظهر ذلك جليا من خلال النزول الميداني المستمر الذي تقوم بها قيادات الحوثي إلى هذه المدارس وبث خطاب الكراهية.
This is very evident from the different visits taken by the Houthi leaders to these schools and by propagating this hatred culture among students, among pupils and students.
في السابق كان يقف الطالب في المدرسة ويردد النشيد الوطني، واليوم طلابنا للأسف الشديد يرددون شعار جماعة الحوثي وهو الموت لأمريكا والموت لإسرائيل واللعنة على اليهود والنصر للإسلام.
In the past, the students and pupils were going to repeat the national anthem, but now it's exactly the contrary. They are coming to just cry out with the slogans of the Houthi, death to America, death to Israel, and death to the Jews.
هل تعلمون بأن هنالك مجلة اسمها مجلة جاهد أو جهاد؟ هي مجلة مصورة توزع على الأطفال بالمجان، وفيها قصص مصورة عن بطولات لأطفال كانوا يشاركوا في المعارك أو في جبهات القتال.
And also I'd like to tell you that there is a magazine called Mujahid.
جاهد
Jihad, in which they even have photos of these children and of all hero stories they had on the front of the war.
لطالما كان المجتمع اليمني يتغنى بالتنوع الموجود فيه.
The Yemeni society was very proud of the different cultures, you see, which make the mosaic in Yemen.
هنالك السني وهنالك الزيدي واليهودي.
Sunnite, Shiite, Jew.
ولكن بعد سيطرة هذه الميليشيات قامت بتهجير الأقليات اليهودية ومحاكمة أبناء الطائفة البهائية.
But the Houthi, they have displaced and obliged the Jews to immigrate, and they have offered, and they have also took the Baha'i movement to make to refer them to the court.
ما أريد أن أشير إليه هو أننا لا نتحمل هذا الوجع الشديد الذي يقتل فلذات أكبادنا في أو مستقبلهم في وجود مستقبل ملائم بالنسبة لهم بحياة كريمة، حياة مليئة بالمحبة والتسامح والإخاء.
I would like to say that we hardly can put up with the situation to see our children are where there is a the values prevailing, which is the values which are the values of hatred, no tolerance, and hating the others.
وأشد على أيديكم بأن نقف وقفة رجل واحد أمام هذه المخططات الإقليمية التي تهدم المجتمع اليمني وتفكك النسيج الاجتماعي فيه.
I would call upon you all to have a firm stance in front of all these things and to help the Yemeni society to get rid of this prevailing disease in the society.
ويجب أن نتجرد من خلفياتنا السياسية إذا كنا بحق نريد مناصرة حقوق الطفل اليمني والنظر إليه بصفة متجردة خدمة للإنسان والإنسانية، كوننا لا نريد مجتمع إرهابي في المستقبل. وشكرا.
We have to have a positive look to the child and to get rid of our even background if we'd like to help this child to live a decent life. Thank you very much. الآن عربي ولا إنجليزي؟
مستضمنة بتكلمي عربي صح؟
لا خلص
إنجليزي.
بتكلم إنجليزي.
Thank you, Mr. Awad Alwan. So, as you say, the education is really important. It's another indicator when one of the parties starts changing syllabus and education content. Being an academic myself, I know how important it is to make sure that the education is an education for peace, for human rights, and for respect and dignity of everybody in communication, in images, in filming, and everything. So thank you for this very important witness and report. Now we have our last speaker, who is Muna Luqman. She is a humanitarian strategist, a founder and a president of Food for Humanity Foundation. She's also an advisor and honorary chairperson for many charities and collaborates with a lot of NGOs, international NGOs. Maybe more importantly, she's a member of the Foundation for supporting the Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, security, and peace. And you know that it is called now in this resolution that women get much more in the peace negotiation because they have other ways of dealing with that. She's also a member of the Women's Solidarity Network, one of the biggest network of women in Yemen, and a former advisor governor of Taiz. And that's important because she, as a governor of Taiz, can witness of what's going on the ground on Taiz. And she will also show you a small film afterwards. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor. Thank you, Dr. Astrid. That was a bit comprehensive for them to include. I think in Yemen, I got a good chance to work in different and various NGOs, local and international, which gave me a good experience, and it gave me a good training to which I did not expect. To prepare for this war. I mean, you could never prepare for it, but it was a good start for me. And I'd like to share with you today, since we are talking about the other side of the story. Now, in the media, we have all about the airstrikes and all what's happening and all that, which is good because there's a lot of violations happening. However, there is another side of the story which is untold in the international media specifically. There are lots of violations, as you could see. I mean, I couldn't help but just my tears went because of Gamal. We've heard his story. We've seen the torture actually, because one of the videos when he was tortured was released somewhere somehow, and we saw it, and it was really I couldn't sleep for days and days, and it was. I'm glad that he was able to be with us today, and I hope the release for the rest of the detainees. We have thousands of detainees in Yemen. This is one part which has not been focused on. So I know Dr. Astrid has already told me that I don't have enough time, a lot of time. So I want to speak a little bit about the situation from a humanitarian point of view. As humanitarians, as you know, we are facing famine everywhere. We have recently seen people who are eating leaves. That's even if they can get these tree leaves, and they're trying to cook it. It's a massive worsening suffering from this war-torn war. It's getting worse. The past few weeks, it has deteriorated. The Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, he told the Security Council that we may now be at a tipping point beyond which it will be impossible to prevent massive loss of life in Yemen as a result of this widespread famine. It is sad. It is very sad that we are in this position, and it is a terrible memory actually now in September, because it's the third year of this coup, and how they attacked the presidential palace. And it's not just about attacking the presidential palace. It is the militias opposed all of the Yemenis social contract that they had done in the NDC, National Dialogue. I'm sure you've all heard of that. It was admired by the whole international world. People came together for peace, and they prevented a brink of civil war in Yemen. However, the Houthis and the pro-Saleh forces, they just moved aggressively, and they overthrew the President Hadi and the government. And it wasn't just this part of the story, but the worst part is that they contributed to all of this suffering in Yemen, and nobody's talking about this. And so this was the part where we need to, as humanitarians, as people who care for Yemen from all over the world, not just the Yemenis, we need to go back and analyze and see how this happened, and how we can also go forth and design a peace process which everybody is inclusive of and everybody is responsible of, from all the warring parties, because we need to get back together. And Geneva, we had a lot of hopes up high this month, and I hope it will go through also. We're not going to lose hope. It's the only thing that we have. I was saying yesterday, we have hope. That's the only thing that we have right now, and we're not going to lose it. So today, allow me to shed some light on the city of Taiz. It is in the south of Yemen. It has been sieged by the Houthi militias since 3 years. It's not in the international media. Violations, attacks, people have been bombed, shelled on a daily basis. We have case files, we have everything to prove that. And I lived through this. We had snipers in the morning. We had attacks in the night. We had shelling all day. People have been the actual roads and entrances. Instead of I used to work there, and I used to go 10 minutes just to go to the industrial complex where I was working. And now it takes up to 13 hours, from 6 to 13 hours just to get there. And people have died on the roads. It's a mountainous road. We can't get oxygen, water, aid, anything, medicines, and it's also being shelled. And so with all of this, what I'm trying to summarize a catastrophe in this city, and at the end, it did not get even the attention of the eminent expert group, unfortunately. And I was one of the people who were contacted by the group, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later. However, I would like to share a small short video, if you may, just to give you an idea of what is happening in the city of Taiz and how the people are suffering. And it shows how the hospitals were hit, the schools were hit, everything was hit by these shelling. So they are controlling the entrances, the main entrances of the city. It's the largest city in Yemen. There are more than, I think, more than at least 500,000 people who are trapped there. All the IDPs mainly come from Taiz, because people were just trying to flee, and on the way to the villages or anything, they were also attacked. And now, to make it even worse, now we have all the landmines. So they planted 1 million landmines in Yemen. There's proof of that. There's footage. Everything is there. And so that is one part where the eminent expert group, they failed to report it. They were invited by the government to visit the area, and they would have been protected by the government in there and the coalition and all that. But they failed to come there. They met so many people from Taiz. They came to them to Aden. People gave them the witnesses. They met them. They gave them the case files, but it was not reflected. Unfortunately, it was even reflected in a negative way. And they even said it was only for 6 months, and then the Houthis opened and it was just like so romantic, kind of it was shocking. It was really shocking. It was the speech was just made so softening and so nice, and there was nothing there. And it was really it was shocking. So I would like to share with you first of all the film, and then we'll continue on the rest.
شرسة منذ أكثر من 4 سنوات. قتلت الحرب آلاف اليمنيين. تدهور الوضع الإنساني فيها، وانتشرت الأمراض والأوبئة، وتمزق النسيج الاجتماعي. معاناة النساء هي الأعنف في هذه الحرب الأليمة. وفقا لمنظمات حقوق الإنسان، بلغ عدد النساء اللاتي قتلن وجرحن خلال هذه الحرب 2447 امرأة. وبلغ عدد النازحين من مناطق الصراع 3 ملايين مشرد. 76% من النازحين داخليا بلا مأوى مناسب هم من النساء. أما في تعز فالمعاناة أشد.
الحرب دمرتني، دمرت أسرتي. كل ساعة قذيفة، كل ساعة ميت، ما فيش حياة إلا في بشري.
كفاح من أجل البقاء، هكذا أصبح الحال بالنسبة لكثير من النساء في تعز نتيجة الحصار المفروض على المدينة.
المرأة التعزية أيضا عانت كثيرا في ظل الحرب، وتعرضت لكثير من الانتهاكات على اختلاف مشاربها وعلى اختلاف المناطق التي تواجدت فيها، سواء كانت ريفية أو من بنات المدينة. الحرب ضرت بالمرأة بشكل عام.
مثلت حاجز الصد الأول لميليشيا الحوثي الإرهابية من خلال تحملها لكافة المشاق التي تعرضت لها المدينة من حصار جائر من قبل هذه الميليشيا الإيرانية.
بعد أن كانت تعز مدينة الحضارة ومنارة للعلم وعاصمة للثقافة، أصبحت اليوم مدينة منكوبة تشكو الويلات. نزاع مسلح وصواريخ وقذائف وقنص واختطاف وتجويع، استهداف الأحياء السكنية والمؤسسات المدنية والخدمية وتدمير المنازل والمنشآت، سقوط الأبرياء معظمهم من النساء والأطفال بين قتيل وجريح، منع إدخال المواد الغذائية الأساسية والإغاثية، حرمان المدينة من المستلزمات الطبية للمستشفيات، منع إدخال المشتقات النفطية بجميع أنواعها، توقفت خدمات المرافق الخدمية وتم تعطيلها بشكل تام. هذه رسالة من مدينة تعز المحاصرة ممن أجبرتهم الظروف المعيشية على البقاء عرضة للقتل والجرح والحصار.
نعرف ملع منه صار تعز بالضبط، ومنه حاجة عملنا شيء فينا بهدلة، لا عبيوت لا عقوال لا عرقال لا نسوان، ايش اللي عملنا؟ ايش اللي عملنا؟
لماذا نحن وحدنا؟ ماذا فعلنا من أجل أن تقتلنا الميليشيات جميعا؟ نحن نعاني من التمييز والهجمات المسلحة والفصل الأسري والاضطهاد. إننا نستغيث من أجل حمايتنا.
من حقي أن أعيش في حياة آمنة ومستقرة. من حقي أن أعيش حرة. من حقي أن أعيش في أمان. من حقي أن أعيش بكرامة. من حقي أن أتعلم. من حقي أن أشارك في بناء الدولة المدنية الحديثة. من حقي أن أشارك في صناعة القرار السياسي.
أوقفوا الحرب، ضعوا حدا لبؤسنا، حدا لبؤسنا، حدا لبؤسنا.
Okay, so as you can see, horrific footage there. I mean, we tried not to put a lot of images. There's a lot of case files. I would like to tell you the story of Farid. He was the last little boy who was there. I think he was nearly 6 years old, I think. And when he was hit by one of the shelling, the bombs that were shelled, or part of the shelling got into his body. When he arrived at the hospital, he was shouting, and it was on film. He was shouting, "Don't bury me! Don't bury me! Don't bury me!" And then he died. And so that was really, I mean, these innocent children are dying today, and the whole international community is at silence. Nobody's talking about it, and we need to do something about that. I'd like to just comment on the statement. I have just a small words about the report. So at the Women's Solidarity Network, we're a group of more than 250 women, and from all walks of life, from all political backgrounds, and we have the independent group also with us. We connected with the eminent expert group. We connected them with human rights defenders and victims, and it was very disappointing that the report failed to cover the important human rights violations and abuses. And to list a few of these points, we had mentioned how we had spoke with them, we had met with them. The report failed to cover the other abuses also perpetrated by the Houthis, such as the use of civilians as human shields, the use of mines blowing up religious buildings, as well as the education school curriculum, like my colleague Awad was saying, including hate speech and radicalization. The report failed to mention that the president was put under house arrest, along with the government state figures, and no reference at all to the use of the first airstrikes by the Houthis, who targeted the presidential palace in Aden in February 2015. It also failed to talk about the siege imposed by on Taiz by the Houthis and forced deportation of the villagers. The sexual and gender-based violations reported only focused on women's, migrants, and refugees, and excluded similar violations against Yemeni women. We urge that the EEG to adapt a victim-centered approach in their reporting to form the basis for reparation. We also call for a higher independence and impartiality criteria to be introduced, including reinstating the group in impartial home-based country other than Lebanon. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Muna. We are coming now to the end of the press conference on Yemen, the other side of the story, facts and information regarding human rights violation. I think that you would agree with me that this is a bit an example of a modern conflict of the 21st century and crisis, because it's a war on communication and image also. As you see, the two UN independent expert reports are contradictory. And this one is 16 pages, the other one is more than 300 pages. And we need to look much more into that. You have given facts, you have given experience, case studies, policy analysis. But I think there is more work to do in this contradiction of UN news content. It is also to analyze the process, how it went, the methodology, and more than any other thing is the independence of the experts. Like journalists know, the independence of journalists are also very important in designing the content for a certain purpose. And I think the UN really needs today to look a bit more closely, not only to fake news, but fake processes and the independence, because it's almost unacceptable that two reports are contradictory and are and one is omitting the past, and I think that this has to be said, and you have said it very well in all your reports. Thank you very much. I just want you also to say that the last issue of Diva International, it's a diplomatic journal, is about Yemen, and some of you here have written in it. I myself have denunciated this outbreak on cholera. The worst in 200 years. So it is also a sign humanitarian aid is not reaching the people in Yemen. And we really wish the best for the people in Yemen and to all your work on the ground, in the field, and in policy and governance. Thank you very much for your attention. Sorry, I was going to forget the questions. If there are any questions, we have already taken some time, but no, I know that maybe James, you have.
Robert James Parsons, independent journalist. But it seems that the whole dislocation of the country and the major damage is being done by the bombing raids. The Pentagon has published figures on the number of bombing raids since January. It's incredible. Was it 17,000 or something? And it is the United States-led Saudi coalition that is imposing the blockade, that is starving the people and keeping the medical supplies out. In the film you mentioned the Houthis preventing some of this to get in also, but this has to come in from the outside, and it is the United States and the Saudi coalition that are, it seems to me, creating the general framework within which all this can take place. And you don't seem to mention that, yet without the bombing raids, the disaccord and then the conflict arising from that in Yemen would be remarkably smaller, and the damage. So but again, the figures that the Pentagon has published and the way they boasted about what they're doing and the in-flight refueling and so on, it's appalling. We've never seen anything like it, and I hear no mention of it. Can you address some of this, please?
Maybe you're giving a reference, which is very interesting, James. You're referring, because this is one of the problems, and as you know, is who is referencing.
Reference to what specifically?
You said the data you're taking is a reference of the Pentagon.
The Pentagon is.
Can you be more precise?
There are official figures, yes, that came out recently about, and it was a form of boasting how successfully they're carrying on the struggle. But we know from the humanitarian aid organizations that there is a blockade, and it is the Saudi and the United States and British Navy that are enforcing the blockade. It is not the Houthis. So while the Houthis obviously are a significant problem, it seems to me they are limited to operating within a framework that is created by these outside forces. And the whole thing to me is,
what's the question?
As the gentleman mentioned, a proxy war.
Okay, so your question to the panel. I mean, now you have explained the reference is
what
really
about
US,
what about the general context of the bombing raids everywhere and constant?
Yes, Khaldoun. Yeah, yeah. You can you translate?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Open the mic.
Oh, it's me. Sorry.
شكرا جيمس.
Thanks a lot.
أولا نحن هنا في هذه المنصة لسنا في الموقع للتعليق على تقرير أو على أي شيء صادر عن وزارة الدفاع الأمريكية أو عن أي جهة حكومية.
We are here not to making any comment on what has been issued by the Defense Ministry or any other side. I mean, Defense Ministry of the United States.
The Pentagon. ندين بشكل واضح كافة الانتهاكات بحق الشعب اليمني أيا كانت أطرافها سواء كانت من الحوثيين أو من التحالف.
We condemn all these actions without regard to the side who's committing them. You see, from here we condemn all these actions which make the Yemeni people suffer.
شخصيا أؤمن أن كافة الأطراف المرتبطة بهذا الصراع مساهمة في تفاقم المعاناة وإن بدرجات متفاوتة.
In reality, I believe that all parts understand the situation in Yemen, even if it were with different degrees.
ولكننا للأسف كثيرا ما نغيب الحقيقة حول من ابتدأ هذا الصراع وتسبب فيه.
But we always forget or try to forget the side which has started, you see, this war.
ابتدأت معاناة اليمنيين كما تحدثنا عندما تم الانقلاب على السلطة المنتخبة ديمقراطيا.
The sufferings of the Yemeni people started with the coup d'etat which has been taken against the legal authority.
وعندما حاولت أقلية في المجتمع فرض إرادتها على غالبية المجتمع اليمني بغلبة السلاح والعنف.
And when a minority of the Yemeni society has tried to take over, to dominate everything and to take control of the whole country with force.
ولا شك أن التفاعلات الأزمات في منطقة الشرق الأوسط ألقت بظلالها على الأزمة اليمنية.
And we cannot forget that all conflicts in the Middle East has shed light also on the conflict in Yemen.
وللأسف الشديد الشعب اليمني هو من يدفع ضريبة ذلك الصراع.
The problem that is the Yemeni people who pay the price for all that.
شكرا.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Khaldoun. Yes, a question.
شكرا للمتحدثين. لفت انتباهي ما قدمته الدكتورة منى عن الانتهاكات الجسيمة التي ارتكبتها ميليشيات الحوثي في تعز.
Thank you very much. I like Dr. Muna was talking about the crimes perpetrated by the Houthi militia in Yemen.
سؤالي طبعا بنظرك لماذا أقفل تقرير مجموعة الخبراء الانتهاكات الجسيمة التي ارتكبتها الميليشيات في تعز ولم يزر تعز كذلك، إضافة إلى تقييبه عن الجرائم التي ارتكبها في عدن ولحج والضالع وتعز. هذا التقرير الذي أقفل كثيرا من هذه الجرائم، وكان الفيديو الذي تم استعراضه من قبلك.
Okay, I mean, what's your opinion? What's the logics behind the fact that the report of the panel of experts has ignored all these facts and they didn't go to Taiz and they didn't also verify the situation on ground? What's the reason for that?
عند عدن والضالع ولحج عندما اجتاحت هذه الميليشيات.
إيش عندك؟
أثناء والانتهاكات في عدن ولحج والضالع.
And also in Aden and in Talع. I think it's the name of a city, is it? Talع. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. شكرا.
Thanks.
شكرا عزيزي لك. أنا لست دكتورة أولا، أنا مجرد إنسانة أعاني مما تعانيه بلادي، ومحظوظة بأنني هنا بينكم اليوم لنقل رسالة المواطنين المدنيين الذين وقعوا ما بين قبضة هذه الميليشيات حببت أن أضع لكم جانب آخر أيضا مما يعانيه اليمنيون، واليمنيون كما أشار زميلي الأستاذ خلدون هم الضحية الأكبر في هذه الحرب. حقيقة أنت سألت سؤال؟ تفضل. تفضل. Sorry.
Also I'm here, I'm suffering as all the Yemeni people suffer from, and I'm here very happy to be with you here to communicate the message which I wanted to communicate, especially that as my colleague also he underlined the fact that it's the Yemeni who are under the Houthi control who suffer the most.
حقيقة السؤال يعني نحن الآن نطالب بهذا ببيان رسمي من لجنة الخبراء. نحن كنا من أوائل من دعا إلى ضرورة أن تكون هناك تحقيقات نزيهة وعادلة في الجرائم والانتهاكات التي ترتكب في حق اليمنيين من أي من الأطراف، من أي ما كانت الأطراف هذه. ولكن العجيب في الأمر، تفضل.
مشيك عشان أعطي.
تفضل. أوكي.
I'm among the people who asking just to have also, let us say, an official communique why these investigations have taken place, and ask also to make to fund perhaps the inquiry committees which would verify the situation and see things on the ground.
في الحقيقة نحن يعني بالفعل كان التقرير صادم في عدد من الفقرات، ونحن في الحقيقة نحن نشكر الخبراء، نشكر الجهد الذين قاموا به، ونشكر المفوضية السامية للقيام بذلك، ونشكر كل الأطراف الذين تعاونوا معهم بما فيهم التحالف أيضا، الذين كنا نتوقع أنه ربما يتجنبوا التعاون أو أي شيء، ولكن في الحقيقة يعني كان لهم دور فاعل في هذا الجانب. وكذلك أيضا النشطاء والصحفيين والمجتمع المدني الذين بذلوا دور كبير. وهناك حقيقة استياء شديد جدا من منظمات المجتمع المدني، هناك استياء أيضا من الناشطات السياسيات وكل من شارك في هذا التقرير بإدلاء دلوهم في التحقيقات. وفي الأخير
in spite of the fact that the report was very disappointing from many aspects, but also we thank people who have participated, and also the High Commissioner for Human Rights for their efforts, and also we can say about the coalition because they were very much cooperative, and there are many sides which have to be covered by the report of the panel of experts.
نعم، وهناك استياء أيضا من النشطاء، وهناك استياء من النشطاء.
There is a general grief of the results of this report.
الحقيقة أنا أعود إلى سؤالك تحديدا، لماذا لم يزوروا تعز؟ لماذا أوكي أنا أتفهم الجانب الأمني ومخاوفهم من هذا الجانب، ولكن حتى من قابلوهم لم تنعكس القضايا التي وضعوها من مثلا زرع الألغام، الاعتداءات العشوائية بالقذائف والكتيوشا، القنص، كل الأمور هذه لم يتم ذكرها بشكل ولم تنعكس في التقرير.
I'd like just to come back to your question. I mean, I was very much astonished that many aspects which haven't been taken into consideration, like the landmines, many crimes which has been perpetrated against the population. Why there was no mention of all these crimes?
مدينة تعز وحصار تعز هي وصمة العار في جبين الميليشيات الحوثية وفي جبين العالم والمجتمع أجمع الذين يصمتون حيال هذه الجرائم. وهذا إن دل على شيء حقيقة يدل على عدم حيادية وعدم نزاهة الفريق في إعداد هذا التقرير. ولذلك نحن نطالب ليس فقط يا إما بتغيير أو بإيقاف هذا ما تم، ولكن أيضا بتغيير اختيار المعايير بشكل أفضل، وحتى تغيير الموقع الأساسي الذين يقيمون فيه، وهو كان لبنان في هذه الفترة، ونحن نعلم أن هناك عدم حيادية. Okay.
The attack of Taiz still will stay as the stigma you see in the history of this Houthi movement activities or actions against the population. And I'm asking also, I call upon the expert panel of experts to have a more comprehensive report, and even to change the place where they were having, they were staying in Beirut. They can change that place also not to be influenced by other sides.
فهذا تقريبا اللي ما عندي.
That's what I can say. أي تفضل.
في هذا الشأن يعني إذا طلبت وجهة نظري كحقوقي، أنا أعتقد أن هذا التقرير أو ما آل إليه التقرير يتماهى مع فعل سياسي لم يتطرق إلى جوانب حقوقية، كون الفعل الحقوقي يحتاج إلى الحياد والموضوعية والمهنية.
If you ask my opinion, personal opinion, I'm specialized in juridical affairs. This report has ignored all judicial aspects, and it might go with some political tendencies which are not apparent in the report.
وما يدل على ذلك هو الكثير من الألفاظ التي استخدمت في هذا التقرير.
The terminology, the jargon used in this report, it's the good indication for what I say.
هناك الكثير أيضا من الانتهاكات التي بالفعل لم يتضمنها هذا التقرير.
There are many crimes which were not taken into consideration in this report.
والذي كان بمثابة الصدمة في الشارع الحقوقي اليمني.
It's because of that it was like the whole society, especially the people specialized in legal affairs, were very much disappointed of that report.
يجب أن تدرك كانت لجنة الخبراء أن زيارة تعز كانت من الضرورات الأساسية، وهي تعلم أن هناك نوعا ما إجراءات، يعني أنه تعز وضعها الأمني صعب شوية، ويجب أن يكون هنالك إجراءات أمنية لإعطاء الفرصة لهذه المنطقة أو لهذه المدينة التي أخذت النصيب الأكبر من الصراع.
The panel of experts had to be aware of the fact that they have to give also the security Taiz, which has taken the bulk of these reports about the war in Yemen. They have to give priority to this area and to take care of the situation or security situation in the city.
وهذا بحد ذاته أيضا يضع تساؤلات أكثر. لماذا الأمم المتحدة لم تقم بنقل مقراتها من المناطق التي هي تحت سيطرة ميليشيات الحوثي إلى العاصمة المؤقتة عدن؟
And it's also that would raise the question why international organizations and United States didn't move their headquarters from that area which is dominated by the Houthi to the temporary capital which is Aden.
Thank you. Another question? No? No comment? Okay. So with this, I close this session, and thank you, the journalists. I thank the panelists for this very interesting press conference, and I wish you really the best in your ongoing activities. Thank you. Bye-bye.